Alex Hayes had seen many abandoned worlds in his life, but none like this. The planet, a cold and jagged rock in the outer rim, seemed almost alive in its silence. Black clouds roamed the sky, and the wind carried the bitter tang of chemicals long since left behind by a dying civilization. He adjusted his helmet and scanned the ruins ahead. This was a scouting mission, meant to chart abandoned alien outposts and, if lucky, find artifacts or information left behind. But something in the reports made him uneasy. Whispers in the intelligence log spoke of a hidden prison, long forgotten, where someone, or something, might still survive. Alex's boots crunched over jagged stones as he moved carefully through the wreckage of a collapsed structure. The walls were cracked, some of them leaning dangerously, and the air smelled faintly of metal and decay. His team followed behind, cautious but trusting his experience. They had faced dangerous creatures, rogue AI drones and treacherous terrains before, but this place gave even seasoned explorers chills. Command said there's a chance the prison was abandoned decades ago. His second-in-command, Mara said, voice tight through the comm. Why would anyone leave someone alive in there? Alex did not answer immediately. Something in the silence around them told him this was no ordinary prison. The facility seemed carefully designed to contain someone small but intelligent. He crouched and examined a partially collapsed corridor, noticing faint claw marks and scorch marks on the metal. Whoever or whatever had been here had struggled. As they moved deeper into the facility, the darkness thickened. Alex activated his torch, its beam cutting through the shadows, revealing remnants of cells and broken equipment. Then, near the end of a narrow hallway, he saw it. A faint shimmer in the corner of what appeared to be a collapsed cell. He approached slowly. At first he thought it was debris, but then he noticed movement. A tiny figure curled up and trembling stared at him with large, luminous eyes. Her skin had an unusual, almost translucent quality, faintly glowing in strange patterns that pulsed gently with her heartbeat. She was small, fragile, and clearly terrified. Alex's heart tightened. He crouched lower, keeping his hands visible to show he was not a threat. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly, his voice echoing slightly in the chamber. The alien girl flinched, retreating further into the corner. Her body shook violently, not just from cold but from sheer fear. Alex noticed the tattered remains of what must have been clothing, barely covering her. He realized with a pang that she had likely been here for years, left with nothing. "It's all right," he repeated. "You're safe now. I won't let anyone hurt you." Her large eyes, shining with a mix of fear and despair, watched him warily. She spoke in a soft, melodic tone, a language Alex had never heard before. He couldn't understand the words, but the fear was clear. She didn't trust him. How could she? She had been locked away, abandoned, and left to survive alone in a place designed to break hope. Alex reached into his pack and pulled out a small heat blanket. He unfolded it carefully and laid it near her. "It's warm. You can stay close," he said gently, keeping his tone calm and even. The alien girl hesitated, her instincts torn between survival and caution. Slowly, almost painfully, she inched toward the blanket, keeping her eyes on him. Alex sat back a few feet, making no sudden movements, giving her space. Minutes passed. She finally curled on the blanket, shivering but safe. Alex watched her silently, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow. Whoever had done this to her had tried to erase her existence, but she had survived. That was a strength few could match. "Do you understand me?" Alex asked quietly. She shook her head, slightly confused. He realized he would need another way to communicate. He pulled out a datapad and sketched a simple stick figure of a person holding hands with another. He pointed to himself, then to her. She tilted her head, blinking slowly, as if trying to understand. Alex smiled faintly. "We'll find a way out together. I'll protect you." The alien girl's breathing began to slow. For the first time in what seemed like forever, there was a flicker of hope in her luminous eyes. Alex felt a quiet triumph. He knew it was fragile, but it was enough to begin. The challenge, however, was far from over. The prison was not just abandoned, it was unstable. Portions of the facility had collapsed over the years, and some corridors were trapped with automated security drones that had gone rogue. Alex scanned the hallway with his handheld sensor. Small red lights blinked, indicating moving machinery still active inside. "Stay here," he whispered, looking at the girl. "I'll make sure it's safe." She nodded slightly, though fear still clouded her face. Alex moved carefully, disabling traps and dodging patrol drones. Each step was tense, but he relied on his training. He had saved people before in dangerous environments, but this felt different. This was not just about rescue. It was about restoring hope. After what felt like hours, he returned. The corridor was clear, and he motioned for her to follow. She hesitated, then, seeing his steady demeanor, she obeyed. They moved slowly, navigating broken stairways and collapsed floors. Alex kept talking softly, describing each step, trying to make the alien girl feel safe. She began to mimic his actions, learning quickly how to move through the ruins. Despite her weakened state, her intelligence and reflexes were remarkable. Eventually, they reached a larger chamber, one that had once served as a central hub. Broken machinery hummed faintly in the shadows, and sunlight filtered through cracks in the ceiling. For a moment, they paused. Alex offered her water and small rations from his pack. She accepted, her hands delicate as she took the food. "You're stronger than you think," Alex said, keeping his voice low. "You survived all this alone. That's incredible." The girl looked at him, her luminous markings pulsing faintly. She didn't speak, but her eyes reflected a mixture of sadness and cautious trust. Alex felt a bond forming. It was fragile, but it was real. As night fell, Alex decided they needed to rest. He found a small, stable corner where they could camp safely for a few hours. He kept one eye on the shadows outside, wary of any remaining threats, while she curled into a small ball, exhausted. He studied her closely. She wasn't just an alien to him. She was a being with a story, a history, a life that someone had tried to erase, and he couldn't let that happen. Not on his watch. "Tomorrow we'll get you out of here," he promised, more to himself than to her. "I won't let this place keep you trapped." As he drifted into a light sleep, he imagined the look on her face when she realized she could be free. That hope, fragile as it was, gave him strength. He had always believed humanity could face impossible odds, but now he saw it clearly in front of him, not just in himself, but in the connection forming between human and alien. The sun rose over the jagged horizon, casting pale light through the broken roof. Alex woke first, checking the perimeter. The alien girl was still sleeping, small and vulnerable, yet somehow full of potential. He smiled faintly. Today would be the day they moved forward. He woke her gently, speaking in soft tones. She blinked, disoriented at first, but then recognized him. Alex held out his hand, not demanding, just offering. She hesitated, then took it. Step by step, they moved through the ruins, each obstacle a test of their combined ingenuity. She learned quickly, picking up on his instructions, sometimes surprising him with her speed and problem-solving skills. Alex marveled at her resilience. Years of imprisonment had not broken her completely. She still had fight, still had hope. Hours later, they reached a massive gate that had once sealed the prison. The locking mechanisms were damaged, some parts burned or missing. Alex examined it carefully. He rigged a small device to temporarily open it, and with a loud metallic groan, the gate shifted just enough for them to squeeze through. They emerged into the open air. The wind hit them like a wall, cold and sharp, but it was freedom. The alien girl looked around, her eyes wide, taking in the sky, the jagged rocks, and the distant horizon. She had never seen this before, never experienced anything beyond the prison walls. Alex watched her, feeling a deep respect. She had survived unimaginable cruelty, and now, for the first time in years, she could move forward. "You're safe now," he said firmly. "Nothing can hurt you anymore. Not while I'm here." She didn't respond in words, but her eyes held something new. Trust, gratitude, and perhaps the beginning of hope. Alex knew it would take time, but for now they had taken the first step together. And that step was everything. As they began to walk toward a distant ridge, Alex glanced at her again. "We'll figure it out. Together," he said. She nodded, tiny but determined, a spark of life finally returning. And for Alex, that spark was proof that humanity's courage and compassion could reach across the stars, even into the darkest corners of the galaxy. The wind blew hard across the jagged ridges as Alex and Lyra moved steadily forward. The alien girl's steps were cautious, but she followed him without complaint. Every so often, she glanced at the horizon, as if trying to understand the vastness beyond the prison walls that had confined her for so long. Alex noticed the faint pulse of her luminous markings, which seemed to brighten slightly whenever she felt a moment of hope or recognition. "You're doing well," Alex said quietly, keeping his voice calm against the howl of the wind. "Stay close and we'll find a safe place to rest soon." Lyra didn't speak. She had no words for what she was feeling yet. Fear, curiosity, and a fragile hope mingled within her. But in her eyes, Alex saw the first signs of trust, the kind that came not from words but from actions. He had protected her, guided her, and never once treated her as weak or helpless. As they descended a narrow canyon, the ground beneath them shook slightly. Rocks tumbled from the cliffs above, and Alex grabbed Lyra's hand, pulling her back just in time. She gasped but didn't resist. Alex felt a surge of pride. Despite everything she had endured, she was learning quickly how to survive outside the prison. They reached a small plateau where the wind was less harsh, and Alex allowed them both to sit for a moment. He pulled out a small ration pack and offered it to her. She accepted, taking the food with delicate hands. She ate slowly, as if unsure how much she could trust the world beyond her prison. Alex ate a small portion himself, always watching her carefully. "You'll need strength if we're going to get off this planet," he said. "I don't know what's left of the planet's security systems or if anyone else is looking for you. But together we can handle it." Lyra tilted her head, studying him. Then she touched one of her markings gently. Alex had noticed earlier that her markings pulsed faintly with her emotions. Now they seemed to brighten a little more steadily. She was trying to communicate in her own way that she understood. They continued walking, moving carefully through rocky terrain and avoiding unstable cliffs. Alex noticed remnants of the alien syndicate's patrols, broken drones, scattered equipment, and scorch marks. Whoever had held Lyra had left chaos behind, but also clues. Alex knew that if any surviving mercenaries remained, they might be coming back for her. He had to move fast. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows over the landscape, Alex spotted a narrow cave entrance. "We can rest there," he said. "It's small, but it will keep us out of the wind and give us cover if anyone comes looking." Inside the cave, they found a flat area where they could sit and catch their breath. Alex helped Lyra settle down and pulled out a small heater, activating it to provide warmth. She shivered at first, unused to comfort, but gradually relaxed as the heat spread through the cave. "You're safe," Alex repeated, almost like a mantra. "No one can hurt you here. Not while I'm with you." Lyra looked at him, her luminous eyes reflecting the heater's glow. For the first time, she allowed herself to relax completely, leaning slightly against him. It was a small gesture, but Alex knew it meant trust. As night fell, the alien sky revealed unfamiliar constellations. Alex stared up, feeling a strange sense of calm. "You know," he said softly, "we humans like to look at the stars and dream. I think all creatures do. You're looking at your first real night sky, I bet." Lyra tilted her head, staring at the patterns above. Then with a slow, almost shy gesture, she extended her hand and Alex placed his beside hers. It was not just a touch, it was a silent agreement. They were partners now, relying on each other to survive and to face whatever came next. The next day, they resumed their journey. The terrain grew rougher with deep fissures and jagged rocks. Alex noticed small alien creatures scurrying in the shadows, harmless but quick, reminding him how different this world was. Lyra's instincts sharpened as she observed them, pointing out paths through the rocks that Alex might have missed. Her confidence was growing. Hours later, they reached a plateau overlooking a wide valley. In the distance, Alex spotted movement, small figures approaching. He froze, signaling Lyra to stay low. He studied them through his scope and realized they were a patrol of mercenaries. They hadn't abandoned all interest in Lyra. "We have company," he whispered. "Stay behind me." Lyra nodded, hiding behind his back. Alex calculated quickly. The patrol was small but well-armed. He needed to find a way to get them past without confrontation if possible. Using the terrain to his advantage, he led Lyra along a series of rocky ridges, staying above the patrol's line of sight. They moved carefully, using shadows and rocks as cover. Despite their efforts, a drone spotted them. A red beam of light scanned the cliffside and Alex tensed. "Run!" he shouted, grabbing Lyra's hand. They sprinted across the rocks, leaping over fissures and dodging falling debris. The drone fired a warning shot which barely missed them, embedding itself in the cliff. Lyra stumbled, but Alex caught her. "I've got you," he said, steadying her. Together they jumped down a narrow ledge into a small ravine. The drone's sensors lost track of them in the shadows. Panting, they crouched behind a rock. Lyra looked at Alex, her markings glowing faintly. He smiled, though he was equally exhausted. "You did well," he said. "See? You're stronger than they think." By evening, they reached a dense forest, the trees strange and towering, their leaves shimmering slightly in the alien sunlight. Alex guided Lyra through, keeping noise to a minimum. The forest offered cover and a brief sense of safety. Here, for the first time, Lyra could move without fear of detection. That night, Alex noticed something remarkable. As Lyra rested, her markings pulsed more brightly than before. He realized she was beginning to regain some control over them. Perhaps a natural ability her species possessed. It was subtle but powerful, a reminder that she was not helpless, just temporarily weakened. "Tomorrow we keep moving," Alex said softly. "We'll find a ship, or a place where you can be truly safe." Lyra looked at him, her expression thoughtful. For the first time, she seemed to hope not just for survival, but for a future. The next morning, they reached a plateau with a clear view of the horizon. In the distance, a wrecked spacecraft rested on a rocky ledge. Alex's heart leapt. "That's our chance," he said. "If it's functional, we can use it to leave this planet." They approached the ship cautiously. It was damaged, but the hull was mostly intact. Alex examined the controls and found that some systems were still operational. He smiled faintly. "Not perfect, but it'll get us off the ground." Lyra watched him closely. Alex noticed her curiosity, the first real spark of excitement he had seen. "You'll see," he said. "I'll teach you how to help. We do this together." Over the next few hours, they worked side by side. Alex repaired minor systems, and Lyra assisted, learning quickly. Her intelligence and adaptability amazed him. Despite everything, she was resilient and capable. Together, they powered up the ship's engines and prepared for takeoff. Just as they were about to leave, the mercenaries appeared again, emerging from the forest. Alex and Lyra froze. There was no way to outrun them on foot now. Alex quickly assessed the situation. "Stay behind me," he said, drawing a makeshift energy shield from the ship's emergency supplies. The mercenaries charged, but Alex used the terrain and the shield to hold them back long enough for Lyra to activate the ship's systems. She placed her hands on the control panel, her markings pulsing as if responding to the ship. To Alex's astonishment, the ship hummed to life faster than he expected. Lyra's presence seemed to synchronize with its systems. "Go," Alex shouted. Lyra hit the launch sequence and the ship lifted off the ground, narrowly avoiding the attacking mercenaries. Alex held on to her, exhilarated and relieved. The mercenaries could only watch as the ship disappeared into the sky. Once in orbit, Alex let out a long breath. "We did it," he said. Lyra looked at him, her markings glowing softly, a silent acknowledgement of their shared victory. As they left the planet behind, Alex reflected on what had happened. He had rescued someone who seemed powerless, yet she had grown stronger through trust, courage, and guidance. Humanity's strength wasn't just in technology or strategy. It was in the ability to protect, inspire, and uplift those who had been forgotten. Lyra, for her part, was beginning to understand a new concept: hope. She had survived the impossible and found someone who valued her life. Together, they had not only escaped danger but had formed a bond that would carry them forward into the stars. The vast galaxy lay ahead of them, full of unknown dangers and opportunities. But for the first time, Alex and Lyra faced it as partners, ready to face anything together. And in that moment, both knew that even in the darkest corners of the universe, courage, compassion, and determination could light the way.